Hari Om. In the fifth module of the microprocessor course, we are currently discussing the input-output interface devices. We have seen the three different data transfer schemes. We have already discussed 8257, which is a DMA controller. We have also discussed the programmable interrupt controller 8259A. What is 8259A? What is the need for 8259A? What are the different features of 8259A? We have already discussed in our previous videos. Now in this video we are going to talk about the functional block diagram of 8259A. So this is the functional block diagram. These are the different digital components available in 8259A. There is a data bus buffer, read-write logic, there is a control logic, cascade buffer, and 3 registers: in-service register, interrupt mask register, interrupt request register. Apart from that, we have one priority resolver also. So all these components are connected through the internal bus of 8259A. Let us see what is the role of each and every digital component. Now, before we discuss the different blocks in the functional diagram, let us see how the interrupt operation is carried out using the 8259A. Now, if I want to implement interrupts in the microprocessor, the interrupt enable flip-flop of the microprocessor should be enabled first. How do you enable it? We can enable it by writing the EI instruction, enable interrupt instruction, and the 8259 requires two types of control words for handling the interrupts. One is called as initialization command word, the other one is called as operational command word. So these are the two control words which are used for managing or implementing interrupts. Now the initialization command word, it is used to set up the proper conditions, all the initialization conditions that are required for handling the interrupts, and it is also used to specify the reset vector address. Reset vector of your processor is nothing but the default location where upon a reset the processor will go to find the first instruction to execute. So this address will specify where exactly it has to go for locating the first instruction to be executed in the interrupt. That is what ICW is. So the ICW will be initializing the proper conditions, and it will also specify the reset vector address. What do you mean by reset vector address? The reset vector address of your processor is the default location. Default location means the default location whenever the reset operation is specified or the reset instruction is given, the processor will go to find the first instruction to execute at this particular location. That is what you call as reset vector address. Then apart from initialization command word, it is also having another control word which is called as operational command word. This is used for performing functions such as you want to mask the interrupt, or you want to set up the status, or you want to read some kind of operations. All these things will be done by using the operational command word. So if the interrupt operation is to be implemented in the microprocessor, the first thing that we have to do is inside the microprocessor, the interrupt enabled instruction must be given and the flip-flop must be enabled. This is the step 1. Then for 8259 to be integrated for the interrupt operation, It requires two control words. One is for initializing all the conditions for handling the interrupts. The other one to operate using the interrupt, which you call as operational command word. Now let us see what are the sequence of events occur when one or more interrupt request lines are going high in the case of 8259A. Right? So after the initialization, how do you do the initialization? Initialization will be done by using the ICW command. So after the initialization, what are the sequence of events happening when more than one interrupt requests are coming in? So the first one will be the interrupt request register stores the request. And when I say IRR, this is the interrupt request register which is connected to different devices. How many devices can be connected? 8 different devices can be connected to the interrupt request register. So each is interrupt request line. So what happens? The interrupt request register will store all the requests. So multiple requests are coming in from all the 8 devices. All these requests will be stored in the interrupt request register. Then once it is stored, then it will go for the priority resolver will be resolving the priority, because each device will have its own priority. Based on the priority resolver will be resolving the priority, and it sets the interrupt high when appropriate. So depending upon the priority, right? Suppose if input request 1 device is having the higher priority than IR4, let us assume. So by the time if both the requests are coming simultaneously, the higher priority device will be set, whereas the lower priority device will not be set. So that is what it says. The priority resolver resolves the priority and it sets the interrupt high when appropriate. So according to the priority, it will be setting the interrupt high. Then the processor will acknowledges the interrupt by sending the interrupt acknowledgement signal. So once the signal is sent, what it is going to do? The appropriate priority bit in the in-service register. ISR is the in-service register. So once the acknowledgement is given, the appropriate priority bit in the in-service register is set, and the corresponding bit in the interrupt request register is reset. But suppose, say for example, 2 requests are coming in, IR0 and IR3, let us assume. So IR0 will be set 1 and IR3 will also be set 1. Now, depending upon the priority, if IR0 is having higher priority, obviously IR0 will be serviced first. So what it is going to do? In the in-service register, you will be having 8 bits because 8 request lines are there. The in IRR will be having 8 bits for each device. The same way in-service register will also have 8 bits for each device. So here the priority resolver says IR0 is having higher priority than IR3. So in the in-service register, IR0 will be set 1. At the same time, the IR0 bit in this particular register will be reset. That is what it says. Appropriate priority bit in the in-service register will be set. Set in പറഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ it will be set to value 1. And the corresponding bit in the IRR will be reset. Resetting means what? The IRR bit is IR0, IRR bit is now 1. It will be reset to 0 to indicate that the request is already accepted by the CPU. So once the request is accepted by the CPU, then the opcode for call instruction will be placed on the database. Why you need to have the call instruction? Because the interrupt service routine is available somewhere else. So now the CPU has to call the interrupt service routine. So for which the call instruction will be now taken as the opcode, and this will be placed in the data bus. Now, after placing it in the data bus, the processor will be decoding the call instruction, and it places two more signal on the data bus. What is these two more signals? First, it places low order byte of the call address on the data bus, because it has to branch to the interrupt service routine address. Okay, so the call instruction will be calling the interrupt service routine, which is located in a particular memory location. So that memory location address is to be specified now. How it will be specified? After the call instruction, the low order byte call address will be placed in the data bus. Then it will be placing the high order byte of the address. The address here is the address of the interrupt service routine. So the call address is the vector memory location for the interrupt service routine, and this will be placed in the control register during the initialization process. So in the initialization command word, will be placing the address of the interrupt service routine. Then in the first, when I say first, in the first pulse, it will be in the first clock pulse, it will be placing the low order byte. Then in the next clock pulse, it will be placing the high order byte. Okay, so when it is placing the high order byte in the third pulse, the in service register bit will be reset. Why? Because it is now already serviced. When it is branching to the interrupt service routine, the interrupt service routine will start executing. So that means the service has been started. So the in service register bit is to be reset to 0. Then the program sequence is transferred to the memory location specified by the call instruction. So automatically now the program execution will be transferred to the interrupt service routine. How do you get the interrupt service routine? The memory location. The call address will have the vector memory location. So this memory location will be specified by the call instruction, and from where the instructions will be executed by the CPU. So this is what happens in the interrupt whenever the interrupt driven data transfer scheme is initiated by the CPU. Now, so for handling all these sequence of events, all these sequence of events are handled by 8 functional blocks available in the 8259A. 8 functional blocks are available in 8259A. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So these 8 functional blocks will help in handling all these sequence of events in the interrupt operation. What are these functional blocks? The control logic, read-write logic, data bus buffer, and the 3 registers, priority resolver, and the cascade buffer. So let us see what each block is doing in the 8259A. The first one is the interrupt line. The interrupt line goes to the interrupt line. This is the interrupt line and this is the interrupt acknowledgement line, right? So the control logic will be sending the interrupt and it will be receiving the interrupt acknowledgement from the CPU. Okay, so this output goes directly to the CPU. That is what we have seen now. It goes to the CPU, right? Interrupt line goes to the CPU. CPU interrupt input, and this line is designed to be fully compatible with 8080A, 8085A and 8086. So all the family of 80 microcomputer systems can be connected to this particular Programmable Interrupt Controller 8259A. Then we have the interrupt acknowledge line that is also coming to the control logic, and this pulses will cause the 8259A to release the vector information. Vector is nothing but the address of the interrupt service routine. So a vector information will be released onto the data bus, and the format of this data depends on the system mode, right? So what kind of system mode you are going to have, depending on that the format of this particular data will be differing. So this is the two pins that are connected to the control logic. Now apart from that, we have three different registers available. What are the three different registers we have? These are the three different registers: in service register, interrupt mask register, interrupt request register. Okay, so the interrupts are the interrupts at the interrupt request input lines are handled by two registers in the cascade mode: the interrupt request register and the in service register. So these are the two registers which are used for handling the interrupts, especially in the case of cascade mode. Cascade mode is nothing but connecting more than one 8259A interrupt controllers. The interrupt request register is used to store all the interrupt levels which are requesting the service. So because it is all connected to the interrupt request line, we have seen that it is all connected to the interrupt request line, right? Each interrupt request line is coming from each device. So 8 different devices. Interrupt request line is connected to the interrupt request register, and it will be storing the interrupt level, whether interrupt is requested or not. That level will be stored whichever is requesting the service. Then in the in service register, it is used to store all the interrupt levels which are being serviced. So whichever interrupts are currently acknowledged and serviced by the CPU, that will be specified in the in service register. Then we have the mask register, which is used for storing the bits which mask the interrupt lines to be masked. So if any one of the input output device is to be masked, then it can be done by using the interrupt mask register. So the IMR operates on the interrupt request register. Masking of higher priority input will not affect the interrupt request lines of the lower quality. So the interrupt lines can be masked, so that whenever you are going to mask a particular bit in the interrupt mask register, the corresponding device interrupt will not be accepted by the CPU. That is the purpose of masking the register. Then we have the control logic. So the control logic is the one which is having two pins, interrupt pin as well as interrupt acknowledgement pin. And the interrupt pin is connected to the interrupt pin of the microprocessor. Whenever a valid interrupt is asserted, the signal will go high. And the interrupt acknowledgement is the interrupt acknowledgement signal from the microprocessor, which will be sending the acknowledgement to the 8259A. So control logic is used only for sending the interrupt request to the microprocessor, whereas the interrupt request from the input output device will be received through interrupt request register. But from there, the interrupt request will be sent to the processor by using the control logic, and the acknowledgement will also be received through the control logic. Then we have the read-write control logic. What is read-write control logic? This is the read-write control logic here. You have the read line, write line, and you have A0 line, and you have chip select line. So these are the different lines connected to the read-write logic. Now what is the role of read-write logic? the function of this particular block is to accept the output commands from the CPU. So whatever commands are coming from the CPU, that will be done through read-write control logic. So when the address line A0 is at logic 0, the controller is selected to write a command or read a status. Right? If the A0 line is having 0, the 8259 controller will be selected either to write a initialization command or operational command, or to read the status of 8259A. So this is the one, the read-write control logic will contain these two registers, initialization command word register and the operation command word register are available inside the read-write control logic, and this will store the various control formats for the device operation. So initialization, we have already seen ICW is used for setting the conditions, all the priority conditions, everything will be set in the initialization command word register, and the operation command word register will be storing what operation is to be performed on the interrupt controller will be specified here. And this is the function block that allows the status of 8259A to be transferred onto the data bus. So using this function block only, the status of 8259A will be read. So what you have to understand here, in the read-write control logic, if the A0 line is 0, the controller will be selected for writing a command or for reading the status, which can be done by using these two registers. And these two registers are used for storing some kind of commands. What are the two kinds of commands? One is the initialization command, the other one is operation command. Then another functional block is your data bus buffer. This is the data bus buffer. So the data bus buffer is having the 8-bit data lines, the 8-bit data line which is connected to the processor CPU, right? So this is going to act as a bridge between the internal bus and the system bus, internal bus and the system bus. So let us see what is the purpose of data bus buffer. It is used to interface the 8259A to the system data bus, and the control words and the status information will be transferred through the data bus buffer. So that is what we have seen here already. I hope all of you remember that the processor will be placing the low order byte as well as high order byte on the data bus. Also the call instruction will also be placed on the data bus. So the data bus buffer will be storing all these control words, the status information, address, everything will be transferred through the data bus buffer. And we should also know that the data bus buffer is a 3-state buffer, tri-state buffer, and it is a bidirectional 8-bit buffer. Then we have another component which is a priority resolver. So this logic block determines the priorities of the bits set in the interrupt request register. So it will be examining the interrupt request register and the in-service register and also the interrupt mask registers, and it will be determining whether interrupt request should be sent to the microprocessor or not based on the priority. The highest priority will be selected and it will be strobed into the corresponding bit of the in-service register during the interrupt acknowledgement pulse. So the priority resolver is the one which is used for resolving the priority when multiple interrupt requests are coming in simultaneously. And accordingly, the in-service register bit will be set on when the acknowledgement signal is received from the CPU. Then another component, digital component in the functional block diagram is the cascade buffer. So let us see where is the cascade buffer. So the cascade buffer is available here, and the cascade buffer is having three cascade lines: cascade 0, cascade 1 and cascade 2. Apart from that, it is also having another line, SP bar EN line. So these are the four pins or four lines connected to the cascade buffer. Now let us see what is the role of cascade buffer. So this buffer or this functional block is used to expand the number of interrupt levels by cascading two or more 8259A. So that means what? Using 8259A, we can connect maximum 8 input output devices. Suppose if you want to expand the number of interrupts, that means you want to connect it to more than 8 devices, we have to connect 2 or more 8259 controllers. So when you want to connect them, you need the cascade buffer block. So the cascade buffer block is having the input output pins, cascade pins 0, 0 to 2, and these will be acting as output when 8259A is used as a master, whereas it will be used as input line if it is used as a slave. So whenever we are having more than one 8259s connected or cascaded, one 8259 will be working as a master and the other 8259A controllers will be working as a slave. So if it is a master controller, then these lines will be acting as output. If 8259 is acting as a slave, and these three lines will be used as inputs. That is the advantage here. So as a master, the 8259A will be sending the ID of interrupt slave device onto cascade 0 to 2 lines, and the slave which is selected will send its pre-programmed subroutine address onto the data bus during the next 1 or 2 consecutive interrupt acknowledgement pulses. So this is what happens here. Now let us see what happens in the case of master slave mode. So in the case of master slave, the slave 8259 create an interrupt trigger, because the slaves are the one which will be connected to the input output device. So what the slave will do, it will create an interrupt trigger on the master as soon as the slave receives an interrupt trigger at one of its 8 input lines. Okay, so you have a master 8259A connected to a slave 8259A. So the slave will be connected to the input output devices. So the input output devices will be sending the request to the slave. Then the slave will be creating the interrupt trigger on the master. And the master in turn will be interrupting the processor. And the processor will be reading the in-service routine address. So whatever interrupt service routine address is available, which is sent by the slave through the master, will be read by the CPU. And the master 8259 informs the corresponding slave 8259 to release the interrupt service routine address onto the data bus. Then the processor will read this information and executes the appropriate interrupt service routine. So this is how the master slave concept will be working in the 8259 cascading mode. So that is why it says in the master mode, as a master, if 8259 is a master controller, it will be sending the identifier of the interrupting slave device onto these lines. The slave which is selected will be sending the address, subroutine address. Subroutine address means it is the interrupt service routine address onto the data bus when it is receiving the interrupt acknowledgement pulses. Right? So this is how the functional blocks of 8259A works for handling multiple interrupts in the input output interface units. So let us discuss the pin diagram. The pin diagram, we have already seen the pin of 8259A will be coming in two different packages, dual inline package or plastic lead chip carrier package. So in these two packages we have this many number of pins available, 28 pins are there. Let us discuss the pin configuration in the next video. Thank you.